This will be a video about an extremely dark topic, details about how they will be implementing the mark of the beast, and more about its true nature, because it will be something much more which turns people into zombies, because there is evidence that implanting people against their will and without their conscious knowledge has been going on for some time. And in addition, they have other devices and ways of influencing people's thoughts remotely. But despite these devilish tricks, there have been people with strong willpower who did not give in to this dark force even when implanted in their own body, and they did not deviate from the way of light despite the attacks of these devices or waves. So they are actually only precursors of the real mark of the beast. And as promised in the Bible and few other reliable sources of prophecy, the closer we come to the actual time when this will happen, the more details will God deliver to His people. And as a start, just one example of the kind of detail that you will find in the Orthodox prophecies in this video. When the time comes to stamp the people, they will open wide the gates of all prisons. The antichrist will offer the prisoners to work for him and stamp the people, and many of them will agree. And that will be the time when you need to run to the woods, because initially stamping will be voluntary, but then they will send the prisoners to the houses. Most of the sources, most of the prophecies in this video will be Orthodox, from Orthodox monks, mainly from Russia. And most of them will not be very old, but made during the last 100 or 200 years. That's why their language will be somewhat more understandable for us than the prophecies of the previous episodes. So mostly I will try to show the source on the screen, but even when I fail to do so, and unless I specify that the source is different, that means it is an Orthodox prophecy, and this definitely fall in the category of being reliable, because yes, nowadays the clergy, as everywhere else, starts to rot in Russia as well, but even as close as 100 or 200 years ago, this was not the case. And all these people who were respected as prophets at that time, they were also healers. Many of them also manifested miracles. Two other points which further testify to their validity of these prophecies is that partially many of them have already happened. Now, for now, this is obvious because we live in these times when everything is happening, but it wasn't that obvious 100 or 200 years ago. And the second thing is that many minor details in these prophecies perfectly correspond to the Catholic prophecies I mentioned in earlier episodes, and at the time period of 100 or 200 years ago in Russia, in the monasteries, they definitely didn't have any access or interest in studying in detail difficult to find Catholic prophecies. So in the biblical book of Revelation we read that the beast will cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And then in a couple of short months, those who have received it will have to drink from the wrath, the anger of God. And that's pretty much the least desirable thing you can ever imagine. In the Islamic prophecies, the marking is also mentioned. They talk that there will be the staff of Musa on one hand, and on the other the stamp for sealing of Suleiman. With the stamp it will brand the nose of the non-believers, and with the staff it will put light on the face of the true believers. The Islamic prophecies add, those branded will then live amongst the rest, and buying and selling so much that when people are asked where did they purchase their camel or another item, for example, the answer will be from one of the stamped people. The Muslim sources as well as the Bible definitely point towards that happening at the very end of the tribulation. The first of the truly extraordinary signs will be the sun rising from the place of its setting and the coming of the beast. Whichever of these two happens first, the other will soon follow. They will go hand in hand. When the sun rises from the west, the door of repentance will be closed, the profession of faith will no longer be accepted, and the beast will be sent to mark mankind. Once these three signs occur, the soul will no longer benefit from turning to the light if it did not believe in it before that. There will be one beastly machine in America in which they enter all data, and with the help of that they will trap like cobweb the entire world, and thus Satan will rule the world from above, from the skies. Whoever accepts their new documents, they will be on his account, Satan's. And then a good number of prophecies actually outline three major phases of cobwebbing the world in this demonic stamp. And only at the final stage, when they actually put the stamp on the body, only then it will be confirmed. So the first step, which has obviously already happened now, but not when they were making the prophecies, is that there will be this proliferation of all kinds of barcodes and IQ codes and electronic forms, which people have to fill out all the time, electronic names and passwords. It will be like a training to make it as a reality for us that this is the way to live. We have to comply with this constant harassment to get identified and numbered. So the monks warn that this will come to pass, but even if you have some of that, or if you ever ate food which has a barcode, which is almost all the food nowadays, they say don't think that you are marked just because of that. You will still have the power to refuse the real stamp when it comes. The second stage will be way more specific. They will give out something that sounds like a biometric pass with chip inside. This will be something exactly like this health passport that they have been suggesting lately, where you're traced by app all the time and with whom you meet, and you have to carry the device all the time with you. So this seems to be described as a specific card. Some say it will be small, gray, and with attractive design. It is described like this. I don't know if it is already in circulation, but certainly it is not in wide circulation. But I will tell you how it is described in the Nina prophecies, which I have not mentioned so far. They have been published like 5 years ago, allegedly based on visions which a woman received some 25 years ago. After listening to them, and they are very, very detailed, my overall impression is that it is extremely likely that they are genuine, and that's why I plan making a separate video on them alone. But when I mentioned Nina prophecies, keep in mind that I cannot classify them as totally confirmed at this point. It is out of question that this lady could have deceived herself and imagined things the way she describes it, because so many minor details match well with all the other prophecies and even the Catholic prophecies, that even if these are not true visions, they must have been based on a very profound study of prophecies from all over the world. So even if we regard them as an excellent compilation of prophecies in a form of a fascinating literature with a few added extra details, still the book of Nina will deserve attention even if it is regarded as a piece of literature only, because then it would be the topmost literature of prophecy compilations. So she describes how they will do it in Russia in particular. It's a Russian book. So their secret services will demolish with explosives a couple of buildings and then start chasing imaginary terrorists and declare absolute martial law in the entire country. And then they will introduce this card with a chip inside with the processor. And to do anything meaningful, like to go anywhere, you will need to identify every 15 minutes with this card. Otherwise, you're taken to the police and interrogated as a possible terrorist because you don't have the card. Now, the special thing about this card, and this is not just from Nina but a couple of other very reliable prophecies, is that those who decide to take the card, that the card will be still optional. There will be some way, very difficult, but one could refuse it. So for those who take the card, it will be nearly impossible to refuse the real mark of the beast, which will come in a few years. Because what they will do with this card is they will already have these dirigibles in the skies. She describes there will be like here and there above the different districts. There will be such cards in all cities in Russia, gradually, first in Moscow and then all other cities. It seems that in rural regions they won't be able to implement that. But in the cities it will definitely be implemented, and this chip in the card, it will all the time make this connection with the dirigibles, and one will be able like to go to work or do basic activities as long one is prompted all the time to show the card and his location. But as far as, for example, going outside of Moscow for a walk in the forest, the vision Nina had, it was like from God. He told her that her destiny will be most likely she will not accept the mark of the beast. But he showed her different timelines and possibilities. So he told her, just in case you imagine you or anybody takes such a card and you want to go outside of Moscow to enjoy the forest, first of all you will need to travel to a special police station where you will fill out a request why exactly you want to go there and what are you going to do there, and they will allow you to go to the forest. However, once you are out of this range, because that's how the dirigibles work, once you deviate one step from just basic activities of eating or serving the monstrous machine of the state, if you do anything else, just one step aside of that trajectory of walking, and then this card is switched on in such a way that from the dirigibles, they have these cams. They even have them now because they offer the service to film your party from birthday party from a satellite. They have these precision cameras. This is not a secret. Immediately, if somebody has given a request that he goes out of the trajectory of being a robot, he's got like cameras on all his sides, and he's being monitored from real people, from the dirigibles. And the second and much worse feature of this sinister card will be that it will also emit frequencies which will all the time subdue and modify the personal consciousness of the card holder. It will be tuned to that, to his brave lens, his personal brave lens, and it will persistently destroy his willpower. And gradually, with this constant pressure from the malevolent frequencies, the man will turn into a vegetable. So everybody with such a card will be in constant half sleepy, depressed state, and will find it increasingly difficult to think for himself. And after some time, everything will be so blurry in his consciousness that, as I said, many sources say that at the end all these people will accept the mark of the beast and will be more as a theoretical option that such a person will be able to refuse it. In her vision, Nina was also shown a group of people who were trapped in Moscow because without the card nobody is allowed to leave the city. So these were good people, but they could not leave on time. And since they did not want to accept the card, understanding what will follow, they decided to try to run during the night with very little luggage to the countryside. So after praying long time with tears in front of the holy images, they went and they managed. When they were passing through the guards, the Lord, he made some dogs bark and move some bushes, and the guards actually run in the opposite direction. So this group of people, they managed to run to safety because the entire city is by then encircled by live police. But the lesson from this incident is that it is good to secure some sort of property in the countryside. The deeper countryside, the better, before the tribulation starts, which means as soon as possible. Because in the first 3-4 years of the tribulation, for many people, many, I'm not saying all, it will be still possible to have some sort of normal life and food in the countryside. While in the cities, first, they will not allow people to have employment without the card. Then they will switch off their electricity, and then the water, and then all other services. This is the reality, and this comes up in many prophecies. So this will be like in the beginning of the tribulation and in the middle, so to say. While at the very end, when we reach there, you will see that the only sure way to survive that horror will be to run to the woods. Not all unmarked people who remain in the villages will perish. No, this Nina, by then she is an old lady and she seems to stay in the village until the end and she survives. But that's only because at the end they don't get enough time to fulfill the order of killing all unmarked people. Now this is one of the prophecies concerning the final, the real mark, stamp of the beast. Igumen Yuri Cheslov describes it: the final stamp of the antichrist is exact correspondence of the numbers on your body, on your documents, the cards, and in the central computer. After that, hell is guaranteed with certainty. While at the same time, the single commitment action of not accepting the mark of the beast is regarded of such a high karmic value that the monks say that the people who will manage to do that, they will be such a high level saints, they will be higher even than those who were killed in the beginning of the Christianity, because those had to fight with the servants of Satan, while the people during the tribulation will have to fight with the master devil himself, who is one of the gods, one of the administrators of the universe. So these brave people, they will stand and fight with one of the lords. The worst thing that can happen to a soul is to get inserted, listed in this devilish computer. That soul is included in the book of the devil. They will spend the time until the judgment in great suffering. During the second coming, our Savior will destroy this computer and all these numbers in it. And then these enlisted souls will be transferred from the torment of being listed by the Satan to the day of reckoning. The punishments they will receive then will be unspeakable. Without the new passports, they will not allow people to have employment. But you remain with whatever passport you have now, stick to that. With the new passports, there will be some sort of temporary prosperity. However, when the antichrist comes and they turn on the big computer, the great horror will start for those who have taken the new passport. Those who did not take it will be prosecuted, but God will help them. People won't take the stamp straight away. That's why first they will cloud their understanding with the other papers and then they will take the stamp. In a couple of prophecies they are giving very helpful advice that they will also start issuing these numbers to people who have not agreed to take them and send them to people by post. So people should not make the mistake to think that they are marked just because they are sending them a number without their consent and signature. Without the conscious and willing approval of the person, they cannot list you in the devilish computer. And that's why a number of the monks tell us since 100 years or even 200, they are advising us, if you receive such a number, you have to send it back to whomever is the sender and then write 3 letters officially informing them that you are renouncing all numbers. Now this is probably local to Russia, but he says send this letter of renouncement to the tax office, the place where you work, and the institution responsible for your address registration. They say that initially, even if one signs before they have managed to completely damage your brain, you may still renounce the number, at least the initial number, which is in the form of the card, by sending again a letter of renouncement to all these institutions. There will be no way to renounce the actual mark on the body. That will be impossible. And now a little bit on the echelon prophecies from Russia, which for the people from the other countries can only serve as an example of how the Lord will be taking care of his own people. Of course, you cannot expect the same result, the same situation in other countries, but just in general how the principle works. And also, it's a good illustration how they are starting to happen, actually. Now, what are these prophecies? Since about 100 years, saintly monks and nuns, they started warning that before the worst starts, they will actually send the best people of Russia in concentration camps in Siberia, as they always did. During the turbulent moments of the Russian history, when they wanted to lower the consciousness of the people, they would simply select the best ones and kill them by sending them to the extremely cold regions in Russia. Well, this time they are not taking into consideration that the weather will be considerably warmer. But anyhow, these echelon prophecies are quite numerable and they all say the same thing. Get sure to be in the first echelon. Somehow get inside. It will be very horrible when they collect the people and pack them with almost no possessions in wagons, carriages so tightly that they will be barely able to breathe, and they will be packed like this for days before they reach. All this is in the prophecies. I'm not adding anything from myself. So that will be quite horrible. And they all say, but do not be afraid. Instead, just always try to get into the first echelon. For example, one of the prophecies sounds like this. When you feel that the end times are near, All you need is to prepare one rucksack with warmer clothes and maybe some money, although there won't be anything to buy and sell. And always have this ready because the echelons can come at any time and you have to get in the first one. At that time, Christians will be persecuted. However, you should shout loud, I am a Christian, I am a Christian, so that they take you first. So what will happen afterwards with the first echelon actually is that the trip will be pure horror. But once they unload them in the wilderness, as the prophecies say, the Virgin Mary herself will wait for them. And all these people will live much better than all the others, in good health and spirit. All of them will survive until the second coming of Christ. The lady from the Nina prophecies, she describes, she had a vision that she will be taken by the first echelon. And it is actually good. Although it is a labor camp, the security is very lax because the guards, they think that these are simply mad people and they will not even expect much work done by them. Although they will be expected to cut wood with axes in the forest, the guards will be very lax and will allow them to rest as they want. And the best thing will be about this entire situation that they will be isolated at that time, because as the Lord takes all these best people of Russia, because they will be selected by this special spying system, so this will be the most pious people in the country actually, all collected at one place. After they are taken to the woods at safety, the terrible infections and sicknesses will come in the cities and the villages and the horror of marking. So although it doesn't sound very good to be taken to a labor camp, for them it will be a blessing. They will be saved from all that. And most importantly, this will be all saintly and noble people, and when they're all collected together at one place, they will actually, she says, we greatly enjoyed our time there. We had no problems. It was very, very good. It seems she remained a couple of years only, because later on there is episode at her home with her daughter. And she said that the second echelon, they were put in a different place, difficult conditions, and only half of the people survive, while the third echelon, all of them even died on the way. And now, in recent time in Russia, they have built such camps. Some are being still built. And here, they're even announcing openly their plan.
Говорит, что некоторые отказываются давать свои данные, да? А кто-то от прививок отказывается. И что мы будем делать? Люди будут болеть, потому что рядом ребенок непривитый.
So he says, what are we gonna do with people who don't want to get vaccinated? He says this is unacceptable because they will make the other vaccinated people sick. And he says that the solution is the vast wilderness of Siberia, where there is no electricity, no civilization, and they can hand over access to these people so that they can return to the primitive Stone Age. At the end, the Russian official adds that Siberia is the best place because all those before them have already died there. Here is another video with prophecies from the saint Paisis Svetogorets. He was a real saint, and in his prophecies, which are not modern, he says that actually the mark of the beast will be implemented in relation to vaccination. He says the people will be asked to vaccinate and the mark will be included. It's not clear which stage of the mark. It could be some of these cards which Nina and the other saints describe. She says that after the initial card, which will be on the terrorist threat pretext, there will be two other documents which will be made compulsory for these people. But it is only one or two prophecies which mention vaccination. The other one says that they will kind of vaccinate with the blood of the devil in people's veins. And I really apologize to make you listen to such horrible stuff. I would not speak about such things if they were not almost outside our door. I'm publishing all this just to make more people aware that there will be choice. While the devils, their main trick will be to make it look as if the marking is the only choice. So, when and by whom will be the mark of the beast implemented? According to the Bible, it will be, at least initially, implemented by the false prophet, who will be a form of one of the beasts rising from water, and he will be in sheep's clothing, but inwardly a ravenous wolf. But this could be more about the card implementation, because the actual physical stamp on the body may be enacted by the antichrist himself, who will be hiring prisoners to do the job. When the time of the proper final stamp, which will be placed on the body, arrives, the offer you will hear is that either join the stamped people, who will be led by a peacemaker and food bringer during the time of famine. He will really do these two things for a couple of months or maximum 1 or 2 years. You either join that camp, or you have to fend for yourself, in some cases without electricity and water supply wherever you find, because in some cases they may even confiscate your property. Not in many, but there are some prophecies about that. And on the top of that, they will make it look like that if you have children and you do not take the mark, you will completely ruin their future forever. And although the people at that time will believe many of that, what will happen in reality is that there will be no peace after the majority accept the mark. There will be no food as well shortly after everybody accepts. And as far as long-term future, all the marked people will make no entry in the new beautiful world for sure. Shortly after the big crowds are marked, hell on earth will start for them. The torment will be unbearable. They will not live long, and upon the end of their earthly life, they will be forwarded to a place even worse. While the unmarked people, some of them will suffer persecution or even death, while those who die in such a way will have a very bright future for their souls. Because they, simple mortals, they managed to defy one of the lords, the Lord of Hell. And those who remain alive through the entire ordeal until the second advent of Christ, they will have a rough time at the beginning, but their spirit will be strong and internally they will be peaceful and content. And after the advent of Christ, they will live in unbelievable prosperity and natural beauty. This is not just a Christian fairy tale. For example, Islam says the very same thing in a very eloquent manner. The Dajjal will force everybody to make a choice. He will say, either select to be with me and you will be happy, or if you refuse my offer, there will be only torment. And then the Islamic sources assure us, confidently jump in the river of what he calls torment, and you will be saved to eternal happiness. While those who choose what he calls the river of happiness, they will taste a type of torment they would not have even imagined. And it is not just Christianity and Islam. Other good religions like Zoroastrianism and the Baha'i religion, they present the very same picture. So it is not somebody's fanatic religious tale, but something which we have to take very seriously. So when I found a couple of prophecies about the role of the aliens, or so-called aliens, something like looking like the Greys, then all of a sudden made sense to me what I've been noticing since years amongst the so-called alternative media, which is paid media in disguise, and that is sadly the larger part of the alternative media. So what they do is this: they feed this obsession with aliens. It's not that the information they put out is wrong, it's just the perspective from which they do it. And now I see it as preparation for the end times, where according to one prophecy, clever tricks using that attitude in the people, not for their advantage of course, will be used to mark them. There are only 2 or 3 prophecies about this, so not that many, but still when we have more than one, there could be something to it. So the way they describe it is that they will have these booths, like the size of telephone booths, with alien fascinating appearance, and even some sort of apparitions of grace or something of that sort, which will be all either holographic images or some other sort of black magic. Actually, they're both the same, just different techniques. So no matter what technique is used, people will take those to be real aliens helping the people in those difficult times. How? By curing them miraculously. You enter sick in the booth and you come out healthy immediately. So that part of the story is what people will focus on, and it is true. But the part of the story that they will not focus on is that, first of all, they have been infected with those same diseases by the hospitals on purpose, and then, because they have the cure, they have created the diseases as well, they really do cure the people in the booths. However, in the process of doing so, people have to sign for the mark of the beast. And something else very, very important for those who plan to stay free from the mark and the madness is that they have to understand that this person, the incarnated devil, he is a topmost black magician. So one should avoid as much as possible to look at his images and listen to him, and especially look into his eyes. This will be quite difficult because I'm sure his images and broadcasts will be absolutely all over the medium. And actually in the Nina prophecies I saw completely new perspective and information that he will be coronated in Jerusalem, and that will be his so to say favorite place. However, his actual position will be as head of the European Union. She is the only source who mentions this, and that's why I don't think it can be considered verified. But since her prophecies are very detailed, and it will be very easy from the very beginning of the tribulation to figure out if they're true or not. And that's why if you watch the future episode with those prophecies carefully and you remember them, later on you will be able to easier guess who is the Antichrist. He will be in his office as a political leader for 3.5 years. And actually the people themselves will elect him, because there will be so much war and distraction before that they will think, well, at least if we have only one leader in the world, there won't be 2 powers to quarrel, and at least we'll be safe from wars. And then the moment will come when the Antichrist will propose to the people so that all countries unite themselves and all religions, and they make one single banking system together, which it includes markings on the body itself. He will say either marking or even worse, suffering. Time will come when they will tell you to vote, and everybody should sign, they say, for one king over the world, and they will be counting the people very strictly. At that time you should know the Antichrist has come. The blinded people will not understand what even a kid can figure out, that the government is simply lying to them. And as far as the godly people, the authorities, they will know very well who they are. They will keep them under constant government control and checks, strict and regular checks. But in the beginning, they will do nothing directly against them, because the Antichrist will promise freedom of religion. In the very beginning of the marking, the unmarked people will be treated fairly. However, later on, when the chase towards the fate of Babylon is on, and when the wrath of God is already very near, they will issue an order to simply wipe out everybody who is against the mark. And this time it will not be religion-based, but as criminals against humanity. So this confirms word to word some of the Catholic prophecies and other Orthodox prophecies that in the beginning, when they introduce the mark, people will be very suspicious and they will watch closely the first enthusiasts who accept it. And after a few months, there will be nothing special, and then people will decide, you see, there is no real problem. All this religious nonsense that these people will turn into animals and all that, it simply doesn't happen. And then the big crowds will line up enthusiastically for marking, absolutely voluntarily. And when that is completed, then the mark will show its true colors, and the marked people will become clearly possessed and bloodthirsty and turn into monsters. And when they receive the order to hunt down the unmarked people, it will be just the best opportunity for them to be monsters, real ones. Although the marked people will be provided with food, they will also start eating dead people. That's because the mark will make their heart senseless. And that's why many of the Orthodox seers actually recommend to the future generations, when this come at this final stage, to simply run to the woods. In groups, they recommend of 10 people. And over there in the woods, God will protect them. He will not allow for the monsters to find them, and this will not be very long. This will be months, probably. This final madness, and then everything will go downhill very fast, and the wrath of God will start with the darkness and the low clouds and the poisonous fumes. After which the descent of Christ and the judgment day will follow very close. The Orthodox monks describe that at the time when the people will be leaving for the woods, their biggest sorrow will not be the kind of uncertainty of shelter ahead, but the fact that they will have to part with their relatives, especially if they do it on time, when the Antichrist has not yet tuned his computer to really turn the people into monsters. In the beginning of the marking, their marked relatives will still have some sort of human consciousness, some pity, while in the later stages, in a couple of months or weeks, when the possession of the evil spirit gets very strong, they will be monsters, hunting down, killing their own parents and family members, even the marked people. Numerous prophecies about that. This is not my own interpretation or anything like this. This entire series is just with prophecies. Beware, because they will act so sly that even intelligent people will be bewildered. Shyamandrit Christopher said that it will all start with some sort of disorder with the passports. Do not take the passport of the devil, he warned, because the advent of the Lord is so near, he is like outside the door already. Watch out, brothers, because they will try to take you the cards or the stamp. If they offer you to take away your property, instead accept that with joy. The card and the stamp are one and the same, both are from Satan. They will start with all kinds of vouchers, then numbers, then insurances with assurances, and then they will do the new passports. And after the passports, they will start even stamping the people. They will also have garments with their satanic emblems on the coats and even the shoes. Almost all clergy will betray the Lord. Their minds will be fogged by the number they give to each and every person. That's an absolute betrayal of the Lord. And then the Orthodox, with their silent approval, they will drag also the side of the Pope towards the antichrist. True to Lord will remain very few priests. Everybody will take the new passports. Countless other Orthodox prophecies speak about the same situation as in France. Only 2-3 maximum priests per town will remain loyal to the Lord. And the essence of this stamp of the devil will not be that they cheat you cunningly to accept some sort of chip or implant or tattoo. That will be only the external manifestation that they have been doing already a lot, and this doesn't grant them full authority on your soul. The devil will be fully capable of possessing you, your very soul, your very entity, only after you voluntarily agree without any external physical force to accept the stamp. Actually in one prophecy they even describe, it's not very reliable, that there won't be electricity, at least in Russia, when they put the stamp, and they will put it in some other way, like with the laser or some other technology. So it might be something different, but the result won't be different. That will be a full possession, because the soul at that time officially says, I don't care for you, the benevolent creator. It doesn't matter if the soul is Muslim, then that means I don't care for you, Allah. I don't go by your wisdom anymore. I openly accept the devil. For the Christians, it will mean I renounce Christ. And for all people, it will be valid, I openly renounce the path of goodness and compassion and anything we call humane feeling in the soul. And I openly accept the path of darkness, torturing others indiscriminately, consenting to blood drinking, cannibalism, all horrible things. And the absolutely most important thing that one should know about the mark of the beast is that the consent has to be voluntarily given. Yes, they will threaten with all kinds of things, starvation, prosecution, property confiscation, that they will do for sure. But yet they will give a choice. Now, at the very, very end, when a couple of prophecies, actually quite few, say that they will start even hunting down people on the roads and even in their houses to try to force them to get stamped, how does that count as agreement or voluntarily accepting the stamp? I don't know, but the way Otrok Vyacheslav explained it, he said that at that time it will become obvious for the truly godly people that the marked people are no longer people, they will become like animals. So they will just go to the forest, because the situation might be like this, that simply by staying at home during the last weeks or maximum months may be equal to consent. They will not manage to mark everybody who remains at home, definitely not. And God will be making an arrangements, for example, for people who are physically disabled, who cannot move. But the safest way will be simply to make yourself absent for a short time. And they will try to search for people in the forest as well. But in few prophecies it is said that God will hide them. The people who chase them, they will see only bushes and trees. Because besides the physical stamp of the beast, there will be also divine protection sign on the foreheads of the godly people. Earlier we read about the Islamic quote on that, and in the Revelation also it is mentioned few times, do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. They were told not to harm the grass on the earth or any green plant or any tree, but only those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. The seal of God will not be physically stamped, but it will be most definitely acquired by all those who vow, and maybe now is the right time. We still have a couple of years of relative peace to do that vow, that we're simply not gonna go for the offers of the devils, no matter what they are. For the Christians, this will mean that they will remain with the Christ and Christianity. For the Muslims, means that they will remain loyal to Allah no matter what. And the non-religious people who wish to be saved, they should simply vow that no matter what, I will not take these whatever cards, identification numbers, vaccination passports, etc. of the pedophile blood drinkers, which in its turn has its subdivisions of Masons and others like the antichrist ethnicity, because it's exactly the religious symbols of that group that will turn to be the new religious symbols of the new religion of the Antichrist and the stamping. It will be all with that signs. Many prophecies I found with that. Even one of them said that the numbers of 666 will be also written in that language. The next episode will be about the role of this 666. Running to the woods in the final days may not be necessary in all countries. Don't forget that these are Russia-based prophecies, and Russia will be one of the worst affected places on earth. There will be countries where it will be milder, probably countries where it will be much milder, not that dangerous. Or we may take the course of not that bloody timeline, somewhat improved. That is also possible. The more people take the mark, the more horrible it is. The more people stay away from it, the lighter everything will pass. Also, during the final months, when they give the open order of exterminating all unmarked people, this will not mean most definitely, that they will shoot down immediately everybody they catch. No, most of the people will be arrested, and we have a very nice promise in the Bible that for those who get arrested, it won't matter much. Do they have an idea what are they gonna say during their trial or not? Because the Holy Spirit Himself will be talking through their mouths during the judgment, during the trial, and He will say such things that the prosecutors will not know how to answer, and their cruelty will somewhat subside. Schemandrit Christophor used to say that I feel like crying when I see those times, how pity they will be giving their hands themselves to get stamped. Do not go for the new documents. The way you have now, remain with these documents. So somebody in those times asked one of the monks, one of the seers who were seeing our times, what about the people who will accept the stamp out of ignorance, without understanding what they are doing? He explained that there will be people who will not understand, but that will be just because they simply do not care to even see what is going on. They will follow the sad fate and destiny of all other marked people, because those who simply don't care, they don't care if they will turn into monster or devil. Everything is the same to them. The people also asked, but how will people practically survive them when they say, we cut off your pension if you don't get marked, we cut off your supply of everything, what will people practically do? He explained that in the beginning, when it is not yet very serious, probably somewhere the situation we are now, he said that the people should very actively complain to all kinds of government institutions, and to the extent they do that, they will be able to somewhat diminish these evil effects. Actually, Alexander Paramonov also recommended that. None of them recommended, however, participating in all kinds of demonstrations and shouting on the streets or riots. That will not help at all. So in the initial years, all that people would be able to do practically is complain and live in the countryside where there will be still some vegetation, something to chew on. Now, towards the very end of the tribulation, it will be dreadful, luckily very short. And in terms of food, it seems that the worst starvation and the longer starvation will be during the first part of the during the pre-tribulation, and then when the antichrist comes, he will give food for a short time to his own people, just to create the impression that he is indeed peacemaker and well-wisher of humanity. So in the very beginning he will provide very luxury meals and new types of food for his people for a short time, and at that time the godly people, they will be all under control and they will receive just enough not to die. So again, it will be difficult but not impossible. And then towards the end, when people fall in the trap and accept the mark, then he will start straightforward to show his real face, and then it will be total agony for his people. It's not that they will have to wait to die and go to hell. Hell will start here, towards the end of the Great Tribulation. And then the unmarked people will be already in a better position even before the arrival of Christ and the Judgment Day, because they will survive somehow on grass. Many prophecies speak about the shortage of water, so they will find some way to find drops of water during the night at the roots of the trees, and during the day they will cover those holes, but at night they will collect drops of water. So that's how they will solve the water shortage problem, and the food, whatever miserable they can find around in nature. But no worry, nobody will get sick due to lack of nutrition. We have prophecies of that type in the Bible, in the Catholic prophecies, in the Orthodox prophecies, that even when they eat a little bit, they will not feel that hungry, and their bodies will be nourished. It will be a special blessing for those who have the divine sign on their foreheads. And even if we speak from so-called scientific point of view, those people who exist on higher vibrational levels, when they starve, that's why also starving is one of the tools sometimes used to actually achieve higher levels of consciousness, because when the body of such people gets less food, the cells themselves, they start to evolve into another light body, like a different type of body. That's why highly advanced spiritual people, they can fast for very, very long periods and still function, while people with demonic mindset, if you don't get their fuel, their body is out of order very, very soon. And the main thing is that the godly people, they will be reading the prophecies all the time. That will be their greatest wealth, and they will know that the end is very, very soon, and they will be calm in their minds. That will be the best and most valuable thing. As soon as you hear that the donkey stepped in the newly built Temple of Solomon, run. There will be unheard of famine, there will be no water, the heat will be unspeakable, the living will not manage to bury all the dead. The black crows and the jackals will be drunk with the blood of godly people, and sitting on the corpses of the godly people will be red priests. That's how he called the priests of the new religion. And by the way, Jeheni also mentioned that they will have red outfits. The red priests will be drunk with money and grandomania, and they will play cards in the company of naked women. Besides, the red priests will be their loyal dogs. Judges, police, tax collectors, and doctors. The red popes will just move their finger, and all these dogs will attack the cornered people. Under the excuse of vaccination, they will stamp the people on their hands like hot iron branding of livestock. There will be 3 hot iron marks, and the name of these markings will be "I am the son of the antichrist." And that will be blood mixing, because to the blood of the godly people they will add the blood of the antichrist. Willows are blessed by the Lord, and they will save the true Christians from the thirst. They will dig towards their roots, and there they will find drops, and they will not be thirsty. They will also eat the wet soil around those roots, and because of that they will not get sick. There will be no water anywhere, but you will find it at the willows. During the day you cover the hole, and every night you open it anew. In this way the earth itself will save the godly people. So here somebody asked the question, please tell me if there is hope. What if enough people wake up? Is there hope for what exactly? For you personally to be saved? Of course, it's your choice. That's why God has sent all these prophets and all these messages to the monks and the seers, so that the people can make their choice and prepare accordingly. Is there any hope for the humanity to continue to exist in this ugly fashion and there will be no consequences? Of course there is no hope. The mechanisms of the universe themselves are like this, that when civilization like us turn into dark mode, they self-destroy themselves eventually. If you have listened carefully to the previous episodes, I mentioned a couple of different sources, all pointing towards this main point, that the anger of God will be poured mainly because of this sacrificial killing and of children and blood drinking. God is a person and he can get angry if he wants to. And here, as I was browsing the Orthodox prophecies, a nun named Antonia, Schimonahinia Antonia, also said the world will be destroyed because of the killed small children. And I believe it was mentioned at a few other places, basically the same thing. So now people who don't want to look into these matters, they just don't read prophecies and turn away. But when the worst starts, they will cry pitifully, "Please God, mercy, mercy, mercy." But it is said in many prophecies, at that time there will be no mercy for them, because the mercy they want is the world to continue in the same way, and that's it. These are people who simply refuse to change. They don't want to even inquire what can be changed in their personality. They cannot even conceive that something may require change. Unfortunately, there will be no mercy for such people, not because of some philosophies that I'm trying to convince you about, but just because too many prophets who have proven themselves from all kinds of religions have told us about this very clearly many times. If you remember the previous episode about Jeheni, the Lord himself told her, "Do listen to my words. I am life itself. Do listen to them." But too many people do not want to listen to his words, but instead they prefer the flowery promises of some sort of New Age guru who cannot even save himself, what to speak of saving other people. Not all New Age gurus are like that. There are truly educated New Age gurus who can help people, and there are those who are influenced by the paid philosophies when the New Age religion was infiltrated by agents. And the second question, what will happen if many people wake up? What will happen? Of course, the events which are optional, because many prophecies are conditional. Clearly it says, and also the seers themselves have explained, that not everything I see must happen. Some things are under condition. If the people don't improve enough, this and this may happen. Yet other prophecies, they are absolute. God has decided these are like fixed events. So they will come no matter what. So if too many people wake up, the bad, tragic conditional prophecies, they will not happen. Many of them, possibly even all of them. Now, usually the problem with the people who talk about too many people awakening and changing the destiny, I'm saying only usually, not always, is that they start explaining how this with the change of karma works, and at the end they forget the main thing, that people are not awakening in reality. Very small fraction is awakening. But because their attention is diverted to the talk, they will not see themselves how they will be given the passports, the cards, and then they will start beating on their consciousness and awareness with these harmful frequencies from the dirigibles. And then many of the proponents of these philosophies will find themselves happily and voluntarily giving their hands and foreheads for stamping, like livestock with hot iron. Many of these type of people will be seen during the tribulation when the antichrist comes. They will be spreading happy messages on YouTube and on TV, everywhere else. They will be channeling all kinds of angels, and they will be assuring you that the antichrist is God himself, because he will have such happy news for the people who want to deceive themselves like this. He will tell them that, you see, there is God. I'm a religious person and I'm preaching to you the truth of God. But all these things about austerity or any rules, this is the old people, they just got it wrong. They got it wrong, and God made all this world for enjoyment, like immediate. And what kind of enjoyment? Oh, anything you wish. Binge drinking all the time. And sex with anything or anybody. Just on the street. Why not others to see and enjoy and try themselves right on the spot? You can just torture even and insult and hurt others as you wish. If it gives you fun, why not? That's how he will preach. He will also preach peace and equality. And indeed, there will be few months of peace, because he will be like king of the world. So there will be no more war for a couple of months. And as far as equality, he will say the wealth of the world needs to be redistributed. And they will start confiscating anything which does not belong to his loud supporters. And at that time, it will be exactly that type of people who see hope only in avoiding and not changing, and never crosses their mind to change their own selves and purify themselves. They will be the one who will be channeling happy messages, which will be coming actually from evil spirits, but they will assure you that these are from angels, and they will be helping the Antichrist to spread his new religion. So this type of happy messages will continue, I don't know, very short, maybe only a couple of months, or even if it is 1 or 2 years maximum, will continue with these happy messages. And then the devil will finally show his real face and will really possess, when everybody accepts the seal, will really possess these people seriously and turn them into monsters. But they will still have some consciousness, and when one is in such conditions of utter frustration to the point of attacking other people and just harming unknown people, killing them, eating them. The souls who do that, they are in such an internal agony and anger and frustration. This is far worse than physical pain. This is really unbearable. When they reach that state, which again will be very much in this world, not after they die, not some promise of unknown heaven or unknown place, but right here, there are a couple of prophecies. People will be trying to chop off their own hand where the mark is, but they won't be able. If they do it, it will just appear all over their body, because it's not just a tattoo, it's not just a sticker, it's a vow. It's a solemn vow in a temple in front of the god, and unfortunately temple of the devil, that I give my soul to the devil, and that you cannot chop off, because that's a vow. It will be far better for you to die rather than to accept the mark of the beast. When difficulties come, pray with great sincerity and God will help you. In the north, even grapes will start growing so that they will sustain the godly people. Now, many people, when hearing that it is better to die than to accept the mark of the beast, will say, well, I'm not so sure, maybe this is some sort of religious coloring of the situation. And that's why you can find a video on my channel which is called Simple but yet very effective meditation technique. That technique will realize you to directly perceive the eternal nature of your soul, and then with that knowledge you can make better decisions, what is really beneficial for your soul. Because it is true, sometimes it is kind of hard to just go on belief, especially in the religious books. That's why it is better to see the things for yourself, then you will make better decisions. And I would advise you to start that meditation now, before the proper tribulation has started. It seems we have a couple of more years before it really starts shaking. Because if you postpone and decide, well, maybe I will start when I'm sure that everything will be happening, you may not make it, because when you are in extreme situation, it might be too difficult to concentrate and do the technique then. Some people are doing other meditation techniques and maybe don't want to see that video because they think, well, I'm doing meditation already and I'm happy with it, I don't need another one. But if the type of meditation which you're doing has not yet enabled you to directly perceive that you are soul and you are not this body, I mean as a perception and not as a belief and concept, then it will be beneficial for you to add this meditation to your existing practice. Because there are so many meditation techniques and they are for different things. They don't give all the same result, but the specific technique which I describe, that will be extremely valuable during the last days.